Hi there, I'm Jane from Sustain My Craft Habit and welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to show you a few Valentine's inspired dollar store crafts that you can make to add a bit of color and romantic vibes on a budget to your home during this kind of otherwise can be blah January, February time frame. These crafts are simple to make using Dollar Tree or other dollar store supplies, so be sure at the end to comment on which is your favorite. Let's get started. These bamboo wood cutting boards are one of our favorite crafting supplies from the dollar store. They're substantial and they make a great surface for painting or applying designs. For this craft, we're going to make a lovely Valentine's sign using this phrase, "Love is all we need." I cut it out with my Cricut Maker onto black permanent vinyl, and I'm just weeding out the excess here to get that ready for transferring it onto the cutting board. You can find that SVG file over on sustainmycrafthabit.com. To prepare the cutting board, I applied a coat of white chalky finish paint. This is Decor called Everlasting, and we have a link for a coupon code that you can use for Decor products in the description below. Once that was dry, I applied this beautiful French script stencil, which is also from Decor, and I used some red acrylic paint for this step. When using the stencil, we want to be light touch on the paint to make sure it doesn't bleed under the stencil. And then I also used a flat stencil brush and this dabbing motion to get that paint nicely in there. You can see how beautiful this design is. It just makes a lovely, nice backdrop. Okay, once my paint was completely dry, I tried to transfer that vinyl design right on there, and you can see here that I really struggled with this. I made the mistake of trying to rush the project. I really should have let that paint fully cure for a night or two and then do the transfer, but it was not cooperating, so I did this part by hand. Another tip when you're trying to apply a transfer onto a painted surface is to add a layer of Mod Podge and let that dry completely before transferring the vinyl on there. Next, I used a variety of red and white ribbon to create a cute messy bow. So this technique is really fun and a great way to use up, scrap ribbon and scrap pieces of fabric if you have them. The trick is to cut 3 pieces of similar length ribbon in various styles and colors or whatever coordinates with the craft that you're making. I have these ribbons came from the either Dollarama or Dollar Tree. And then once we've cut them all up, we're going to make an X shape with 2 of the pieces and then put the third one across from there and continue layering all the different ribbons that we've cut from. I like to go from widest on the bottom to narrowest on the top. And sometimes if you have shorter pieces, again, I would go from longer pieces of ribbon to shorter ones on the top. And here I'm layering, I think, 6 different types of ribbon, and then finally pinching together at the center and tying it either with a piece of twine or I'm just using another coordinating piece of ribbon there. And that's how we make our messy bow. I also like to trim the tails of each of these little ribbons either at an angle or with a little dove shape. And then after gluing that to the top of our little paddle sign, I just took some gold paint and painted around that outer edge just to make it a little more finished. To finish it off, I glued on this beautiful pearl embellishment as well as some wood hearts that I had painted red and gold just to give it a little 3D dimension. For this Dollar Tree Valentine's craft, we're going to use some pretty pink faux florals, this artist wood panel, a bit of sand and ribbon, and then some white chalky paint. This didn't come from the Dollar Tree, but you could use a white acrylic paint instead. After painting the entire surface of the panel with the white paint, I dried it completely and then set it aside to prep my flowers. So for this, I stripped off all the greenery and then cut the stem or the wire as close to the petals as possible without having them all unravel. If you cut too closely, then the entire flower falls apart. Now it was time to assemble our heart shape. If you can't find these particular flowers, you can use any other bright pink or red faux floral from Dollar Tree to create the heart shape, and simply started at the top and position them onto the painted panel so that it would look like a heart. If you like, you could create a kind of template with a pencil mark for that heart shape to know where to fill in the florals, but I kind of just eyed it here. I did need to add a bit of glue to hold the petals together. They wanted to flop over, which made it really hard to create that pretty full heart shape. So wherever those petals were kind of drooping or wanting to fall open, I added a bit more glue to hold it all together. And then I just continued filling in the flowers, kind of tucking them close together to make it nice and full until I was happy with the heart shape that I wanted. I decided to add a little bit more texture with some white sand that you can also find at Dollar Tree, and first put a bunch of this decoupage glue all the way around. It probably would have been simpler to do this before I placed the hearts, but then again, gluing the flowers onto the sand would have made it harder for them to stick. So I just slowly went around carefully section by section and then poured my white sand over that and took off the excess. To finish off this piece, I made this cute little bow with a burlap lace ribbon, and then for a unique touch, I glued one of these wood rings to the top center. It almost looks like a little handle, but it's really just a decorative extra piece on there. And that's it. That's how we crafted this beautiful floral heart with Dollar Tree supplies. When I picked up this wood shiplap heart and galvanized metal love sign, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it. But then I found this gold charger plate in my craft pile waiting to be used. And I think this one happened to come from Value Village, but you could easily find these in the dollar store as well. It doesn't really matter what color because we ended up painting it white with the white chalky paint. Chalky paint works much better when you're painting onto the charger plates rather than acrylic paint, which is more likely to peel off. So once that white chalk paint was dry, I went over it with a liberal dose of Elmer's school glue because we were going to create a crackle effect on the surface. After I painted on that school glue, I covered that while it was still wet with a coat of this red chalky finish paint, also from Decor. And it's just a really pretty color for Valentines. You can't go wrong with red. So the only thing is we don't want to overbrush. Really, one stroke is best because the brush will pull at the paint and the glue and make a mess. So you can see now as we're adding a little bit of air to help that paint dry, that it creates this beautiful crackle effect as the glue and the paint kind of combine together. And I really love this technique for adding a distressed texture to any surface. So we have this beautiful red with the white peeking through from underneath. And while that was drying, I worked at peeling off the top layer of this corrugated cardboard to reveal the corrugated layer underneath. I did learn as I was doing this that it helps if you spray that top layer with some water and let that sit, and then it kind of peels off a little bit easier. But I used my weeding tool and sanding block to get that top layer of the paper off of the cardboard. This did take a bit of time and effort to get that corrugated texture revealed, but it was well worth it because I think it just added a really nice touch to the end result. Once my cardboard was ready, it was time to assemble our little sign. I glued that shiplap heart right onto the plate and then cut that corrugated cardboard to go around the galvanized sign, just so that it was a little bit bigger. I next dry brushed some of that white chalky paint over the cardboard just to give it that worn texture, and it just looked really nice like this. I then glued that cardboard circle onto the heart and put it at a bit of a diagonal, and then on top of that placed that galvanized metal love wreath or sign, position that right on top. So really the effect here is multiple kind of layers of texture and color. We have the softness of the paper and the hardness of the metal and the texture from the crackle. And I added a bit of fabric texture on here too with this messy bow, which we made a similar one in the very first craft in this video. So you can go back and see exactly how we did that. And then to finish it off, I just tucked in some of these faux eucalyptus leaves and a little silver heart. I just love how this piece turned out. It was really fun to put all these different elements together to create a lovely Valentine's Day sign. And again, this piece also didn't cost a lot of money, but I'm gonna be happy to have it up even well past Valentine's Day. Okay, so this next craft is a little bit different, and I am using a big glass vase that's in the shape of a wine glass that I got from the thrift store, but I'm also using these bottle brush trees that I found on clearance at Dollar Tree after Christmas. So I made sure to grab all the trees in different shades of pink, and I picked up some of this red sand there at Dollar Tree alongside with the white sand that we already used in a previous craft in this video. After cleaning out my glass, I poured in some of the red sand, and I was going for that layered sand effect, but I started with the red and then I tucked in the trees. I started with the largest ones and fit 2 or 3 of them in there side by side. At this point, I realized that I wasn't going to get that difference in height that I wanted, so I ended up pulling out a couple of the trees and cutting off the bases and then tucking them back inside so that you really have like these smaller or shorter trees and taller ones. We're really going for a whole bottle brush forest of trees inside this jar. I even had a couple of these really cute light pink ones that I tucked in around the bottom. And then I remembered that, of course, I forgot to put the white sand as I had anticipated doing. So I created a little funnel with just a piece of paper and then poured some of that white sand inside. So you really have that nice layered effect of the red sand underneath and then the white and then all these pink trees. And I just continued that until I was happy with how much of the white sand or snow was in there. Of course, at this point now, I realized that I forgot to put the lights in, which I was planning to put in there. So I just used a little paintbrush to help tuck in that strand as deep inside as I could get it. And look how pretty this is, all lit up. It's like magical. At this point, I remembered I had a little deer figurine, and how cute is she in there? And while this was perfect as it was, I remembered that I had this beaded bracelet, which I created into a heart shape. I added a couple embellishments along the stem of the jar, and that's how we made this romantic pink winter wonderland for Valentine's. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed these Valentine's inspired Dollar Tree crafts. Let us know which one is your favorite and whether you even decorate for Valentine's. Be sure to like and subscribe, and here is another video that we think that you'll particularly enjoy. Happy crafting!